Okay, everyone, this is Jillian, and she has incredible stories that are true, that are absolutely true. And this is a reintegration of the most ancient, pure information in this realm that cannot be forgotten, that we cannot for one moment think doesn't parallel and exist in every aspect of our life here, because it does.
I think I would call it a friendship, an incredible friendship with beings that have not forgotten what we have forgotten. I'll start with that they gave me a name, and my name is, and this name is a signature. And when you say that under the water, like how they say it, a certain pattern of bubbles come up. And this pattern of bubbles is also a visible signature of each individual cetacean. Now, cetacean are whales, dolphins, and porpoise. And they live under the water, and they're toothed. They're toothed mammals. These aren't fish. These are mammals like you and I. I've seen them nurse. I've seen them give birth. They have a family structure, a society. And this society is something that is so amazing. Words don't express. If we were to take an element of this society and bring it on land, we would not suffer the pain that we suffer now as humans. Everything they do through play. They teach through play. They eat. They make love. They do everything through play. And this is, I don't know, they're almost like they're always joking and laughing about everything, which helps a lot. Yeah, I've been under the tutelage of Nefertiti, who is an alpha female of a pod of spinner dolphins on the big island of Hawaii. For about 5 years. I left the island for 2 years, and I'm going back now in January, and I can't wait to see them. It's been a couple years, but we always stay in contact. And yeah, they are beautiful beings.
So when did you begin your relationship and discovery of these incredible sentient beings that are actually here to bring in one of the most incredible frequencies of this entire realm and actually galaxy?
I would agree. I think the relationship started long before this lifetime. I think the relationship is close enough to be I could actually have donned a human suit in this lifetime, but before a cetacean. I think that I went to Hawaii to befriend a pod of dolphins. But once I befriended them, like the first time I swam with a humpback whale, I had a vision of all the myriad of times that I've seen whales, been with whales, that they've seen me. And it was just like a picture book of images of all of these occurrences. And it was like, it's like the moment that I swam with them, I had no fear. I saw one come up and blow, and I said, I know what to do. I've been waiting for this my whole life. And I dove down, and I went down about 20 feet, and I just waited. And they came up to me. And it was, so to answer your question, I think it's been a relationship that has existed for as old as my spirit is.
And you were saying that you were actually telling me an incredible story about you are an artist and you paint these experiences. And you had communication with one of them that you painted and you wanted to communicate. And it was a him, right?
It was a him. Yeah. His name is Hero.
Nice.
Yeah. He was the first one that I feel really close to him, because I don't touch them because I don't want to breach any kind of trust or anything like that. And he kept coming closer to me and closer to me. And I said, if you come any closer, you're going to touch me. And he did. And then at that point, I just ran my hands all the way down his body, and he we just have a deep friendship and trust. And I painted, like you say, images of things that have happened. I call them adventures of an aquasapien. Because the things, I know you're an aquasapien as well. The things I've experienced, I have a hard time believing myself, and the beauty and the connection and the depth of connection is far beyond what I've experienced with humans. I must say, or with most humans. What I painted a picture, and he's in the picture, and he's in sort of an awkward position, and I was thinking, oh my goodness, do I laminate this? How do I show them this picture? I really want to show them this picture. And I was talking to them, telepathy, and I said, I wish I could show you what I painted. And he gets out in front of me, and he gets in the exact position of the painting. And at that point, I realized that the depth of communication, to actually be seen and heard in such a way that you try to cultivate that on land with humans, but with the cetacean, it is there. They see you, they acknowledge you, they hear you, and they accept you. And it's an amazing feeling. He could totally see the painting that I had painted, and I didn't need to laminate it.
I think they want to communicate with us, and I think my heart is heavy when I think about this, because I know when I feel them, they want so much to connect because they want to share their knowledge with us. They want to help us because they feel what's happening. They know it. They feel it. But at the same time, because of the atrocities that are happening with the hunting, and with what's going on with their populations, it must be very, very hard for them, because I know they want to reach all the areas of the realm. And I know they come close, and many of them do that knowingly that they are running a risk of either being exploited, like in Bali. Just have to say that.
Yeah.
And a lot of these places, or that they run the risk of actually being killed. But yet I see that it's such an incredible spirit that they have, because they still will come in. They'll still come in and try, in hopes that a human will receive what they're giving, because it's, when it comes in, it's so overwhelmingly amazing. It's so beautiful. So their spirits are, I mean, they're incredible, incredible sentient warriors, really, to even do that. Because most, if it was humans, we'd just stay away. We'd be like, well, forget it. Even if we had a message and we knew we were going right in, many would say no, right? We would be like, ah.
It's true. It's true. I mean, they will swim into nets, and they will give their lives, just to reach one. It's the epitome of love. It's the epitome of I don't even know if the words exist. It's the epitome of everything I've ever wanted to become. I met my first mentor when I met a cetacean. It's like, oh, I met a whale, so absolutely strong and so graceful and gentle. The strength and the gentleness together. And it was like, I finally met a mentor. I want to be like you. That's what I want to be like. It's beyond comprehension how they offer their whole being, even to the point of losing the physical, just to express the depth of what they have. And I think all of nature does that.
I absolutely agree. Absolutely. And I you know, we are going and trying to create a world where that isn't and won't be necessary any longer. So that is the song that they're singing. because they are representative of that reality, of that realm, which is more true and not. They are literally, I mean, it's almost like it's a phenomenon. I look at it like a phenomenon because the fact that that frequency exists here and has existed here from the beginning, it's like literally taking the pure celestial, uncorrupted, and it's still singing here. It sings. And you were going to talk about that and talk about your work, like what you're doing with the language, what they're teaching you.
Oh my goodness. Okay. Well, I would just go in the water and just like hang in the water and let the sounds of the whales just resonate through my body. And it's interesting, like when I'm swimming with the dolphins, like they'll actually make a place for me in the formation where I've worked from the wing end to like second or third chair, and and if I get too far behind, they come around and they leave a space and they come around and get me again, and they let me swim in formation. They've really allowed so much. And when you speak or make a noise in the water, you hear with your whole body. You don't just hear with a little eardrum. Mm-hmm. So it's omnipresent. It's not like you can go, oh, you over there, you're speaking. You hear it, and what they say is their name, and then they say the name of who they're talking to. And the first time that I guess it took, I don't know, a couple of years of just swimming and being with them and actually allowing and seeing this and allowing my mind to comprehend. So one would say his name, and then I realized he was introducing himself. So they say their name, and then they say my name, and my name. So would say, and I would go, and then he goes, and then the conversation starts. And the first time that happened, I was just like, oh my gosh, I'm communicating with a dolphin. And he goes, yeah, come on, let's, it's always like, let's do more. Come on, let's do more. And I'm willing. I'm so willing. So the communication is telepathic. It's also clicks and sounds and whistles. And these are vibrations that actually can heal and align. And when you're in the presence of this, you don't really have the understanding, but it's like, at 2:00 in the morning, it unfolds and you go, oh, that's what they were saying. Oh, wow. You just feel so. The first time I swam with them, I stayed up all night. I was drawing their pictures on my tent. I was writing poetry. I was so energized. I didn't even need to sleep. And it's a very lifing experience to just be in their presence. Now, I had a friend who the dolphin came up and was poking her right on her ribs and making the buzzing sound. And she was a little afraid, and it kept poking her. Well, she went back to the mainland, and it found out that she had a tumor right there. And they were actually, through sonar, reaching out and healing. And this is what they do. Their presence is so high that it heals. It causes alignment. It causes harmony, not disharmony. Yeah.
Yeah, it just makes me want to cry. That's so beautiful. Well, let me just tell a little story.
Yeah.
If that's okay. About, I think you could say it was my first experience with dolphins, although I was not conscious. This was actually when I drowned, when I was in Spain. I was 13 and I was swimming at night. I have a bad habit of always having to be in the water if I'm close to the water. So it's a great habit, but sometimes, so I'll go in at any time, nighttime. I'm not afraid. Yeah. And I was like that from the get-go, right from the start. And I'm a terrible swimmer. Terrible. Okay, I don't know where my fins are, but I'm not great. Yeah, I'm always in the water, not afraid. So I was swimming. I went for a swim. I was by myself. It was dark. It was night. And I was in Valencia, and I didn't realize that there was red flags all over the beach because it was dark, so I couldn't see, and I wasn't looking, and I was just a kid. So I wanted to go swimming, and that was that, because I'm always in the water. So I went in, and I didn't think anything of it. Well, the tide, the undercurrents were so violent and volatile that I was taken.
Mm.
And if anybody knows anything about this experience, it's terrifying. And not only because you're taken out to sea, but you're taken out in parts. So you'll be dragged out a ways and you can't breathe. And then you come up before the next current picks you up and it drags you out further. And then you come up for a couple breaths before the next current takes you. This is how it works. So by the time, you know, you're on your third undercurrent that's taken you out, you're far out to sea and you've drowned pretty much. So I drowned. I died. And I have the memory of dying, and I know what that feels like, drowning and all that, because it happened. So this is my experience where I call it going into the deep, because I was in the ocean, and when I died, I went into the deep in terms of the afterlife. But it was the most still, beautiful place ever. I didn't realize this at the time because I was dead already, but 2 dolphins came and they brought my body back to land. So it's nighttime. They were transporting between the 2 of them my body, flipping my body because they were trying to get my body so that my face was up. Apparently this is what, like, the people that got alerted on the beach, they were hearing these dolphins just making a ruckus, and they were using their tails and they were splashing, and they were, you know, really like doing their dolphin, but it wasn't like the normal happy one. It was like, you know, there's something wrong, you got to come here. And they were flapping, just like really loud. And of course, because it's nighttime, nobody can really see what's in the water. You have to get right close to it. And they came as close to the shore as they could. And they were like, apparently they were like pushing my body so it would like be on land. And then people came. The current took my bathing suit right off, by the way. Like, it was so violent, just ripped it right off. So I was like naked. So they got me out of the water, and they were totally amazed because the dolphins wouldn't leave. They just stayed there until I was resuscitated. So they had to get me back to life because I was dead by the time I arrived, and or they pulled me out of the water. Finally, I didn't really want to come back, by the way, because I was really in a beautiful space, and I think my higher self knew that the dolphins were there too. Like, but I was pulled back in, and finally, you know, you let go of all the water, the salt water, which really hurts your lungs. It's really terrible, actually. I came back, and I would have been dead for a while, by the way. So I came back, and then I could hear and then they told me the story of what happened. The dolphins were, I was like way out there. So once the dolphins knew that I came back, I was alive, then they started like doing their like water dances, flipping up in the air. And it was dark, but you could tell because their chirps were different. And they were like completely happy. So the dolphins saved me, and I had drowned. So they knew somehow when I was out there, and the water was very violent, by the way. The undertows were terrible. They knew, and they came out. They came to where my body was out there in the ocean, and it was far out. And they brought me back in. And then they started swimming all up and down, like singing and dancing, you know. Within the next, I actually was bedridden for a while because the salt crystallizes around your lungs, and it's very painful. So you have basically, your body has to undo all the salt, and it's a very painful process to breathe. So I couldn't go back to the beach until I was well enough, which is really torture for me. But when I was able to get back out and walk and go, I went back to the beach, and I just wanted to know if I could say thank you, right? I just wanted to communicate. They came around, two of them came around, but didn't come close to the shore, but they came close enough for me to see, and then they were doing their dances and they swam off. So I was like, oh, I was just like, I just wanted to go with them. So
I know.
that's my first
That's a
story.
beautiful story. I'm glad that they brought you back, Lauda. You both have the missions align, it's the high vibration we're bringing, right?
I think I think if anybody just touches and has one experience with them, it changes their life.
Forever.
Forever.
Yeah.
Forever. So have you been able to put their language in some way that humans can use it? Have you been able to, I know you do art and would love to have that so people can see it. And because through that, they get the vibration as well.
Right.
But have you been able to bring their high, beautiful, celestial language in a way that can be translated for people, or even just...
It is a desire of mine. That's why I'm in Maine right now. This heavy coat shows it. I'm not in Hawaii. And the beluga live here. And the beluga are, there's not many of them left. I think that they're only in hundreds of thousands. There's not many left, but they are so unique. They are a whale, although they're not a large whale. They're all white. They're very marshmallowy and cute, and they have these soft mandibles, so they're able to enunciate everything a human can enunciate. So when people want to study cetacean and their language, they usually go to the beluga. Well, I came to Maine in hopes of connecting with the beluga. And getting in the water is a challenge, for sure. It's very, very cold. And I haven't connected, at least physically. There is one that is an orphan. His name is Paco. And he has been seen on the coast, and I've been reaching out to connect with him. But I'll be returning to Hawaii in January, so I hope a connection will happen before I go back. As far as their enunciation, I think there's many tiers. For instance, their brain, they can, when they sleep, they shut off parts of their brain so that they can actually rest, and they're always swimming. But maybe the higher functions like body temperature and heart rate and things like this. But everything else shuts down and they're able to sleep. And this is how they sleep, by turning off parts of their brain. And they're able to turn on and turn off parts of themselves. Like, they won't even procreate if they know there isn't enough food for the next generation. Wow. So they're tapped in, for sure. So there's all these levels to this, amazing creature. And the language, from what I can understand, is it seems to me to be 3-tiered. It has telepathy as its main course, but there is the vibrations and the chirps and the sound, and then the body movements as well. So all of this together makes for a language that where you're actually seen and heard. And if humans were seen and heard, I think we could actually be at peace. And I experienced it in a very small human way in the water with these creatures, because the understanding of their great, how they really integrated me into their society, and how I was accepted, and I was really seen and heard. And you know that when that happens, you feel it. And I think to bring any part of their language, which is ultimately society, you know, and society is served on the platter of language, right?
Yeah.
And if we were to bring a language into our society where we could actually acknowledge one another, you know,
Yeah.
and this is what they have. So I don't have much understanding at this point, and it is unfolding. And I say unfolding, it isn't like they're packing language or packing information. It's they're unlocking things that already exist within us. And it hasn't been that long since we've been using this to speak. And it's not very effective and actually gets us in a lot of trouble. But if it's right under the skin. It's not that far back in our awareness that we communicated like they do. So I think, if anything, I'm encouraged because I believe these things can unlock within us once we really see them as mentors.
Absolutely. You were saying something about how they wanted to share with you one of the most sacred things that they have, which is their lineage.
It's true. A lot of men who study the whales say, "Oh, they're singing because they want to mate." You know, "Oh, they're doing this because, you know, they're showing off and they're competing or whatever." And this is I find that this isn't true at all. The whales will actually go down into the sand and lock their paddles in the sand and lift their throats so that there's a clear passage of these sounds they make. And I believe in my experience, and I believe in how they speak to me, that this is the language song. And this song is essential. It is part of, it holds the fabric of our realm, this universe together. And without this song, I don't know what would happen. And they teach it when one is born. They'll actually teach the lineage song, and they'll add the new name and the how that connects in the tree, in the lineage. And this is I compare it to the story that is kept alive by the original peoples. Mm-hmm. Through the oral traditions. Well, this is an oral tradition that is in the water, and the water is the amplifier, and this is the song that allows us to continue, I believe.
I always had this feeling that they volunteered to do this through love, because they're love. And that they knew exactly, there was no illusions about how difficult, where they were going. There was absolutely, because they're able to perceive with absolute clarity, and that it was part of their song of love, because many have communicated over time. And I know when I was living in Vancouver Island, many would come around, and I would always be shown things with them. They would always be communicating. They love talking.
They do.
They love it when we can hear them. They just love it.
Mm-hmm. I mean, that's just the description of you, Lauda. You knew the sacrifices, and you came, right?
Oh, absolutely. I was scared, though. I will admit it. Okay.
Yeah. Well,
I wasn't one of these that was like, ta-da, da-da-da-da. I was just like, Gotta get it right.
Well, I think you know, there's so many personalities in these. I mean, they're not all, you know, there's some real pranksters, and there's some real, like, you know, rogue cetacean. I mean, they're not all like
Yes.
angelic, and but they did know, and they did come, and yeah,
Some of
I
them are very naughty.
yeah, very naughty. They can be very naughty.
So shall I tell this story about what happened, which was kind of funny? It was embarrassing. It actually got, it was on a, they actually put it on their newspaper in Florida. Because it was, you know, it was just so embarrassing, but it wasn't really embarrassing. I love the dolphin, and I can't whistle. Like, I can't do anything like that. It just doesn't even work. If I try, it's just terrible. It's like, so, but I was in Florida, and like I was saying to you, when I'm by water, I have to always be in water. So it's just can't, it just can't be helped. So I was just like, gotta get in the water, right? Because driving down, and you're going in the Keys, right? So you're just like, okay, I just pull over the car so I can just go swimming. I just need to be swimming, not driving. So I went in the water, and I was swimming in the water. It was beautiful. It was just gorgeous. And before I knew it, I only found out the details of this dolphin after the fact, because the marine biologist and you know how they always have like the marine guys by, in case anything happens, and they have the lifeboats and all that, right? So he was the one that told me who this dolphin was, and he told me information about him. That's how I knew specifics. But the dolphin himself told me anyway when he connected with me. But so I'm swimming in the water, and this one dolphin, like, basically just makes it like a complete right for me. Like, it was just, I thought it was a shark at first, because it was that like, like right from the water, right, as if it knew exactly where to go, right? And I'm thinking I could see just the fin, but because it was coming at me, my instinct was, that's Jaws, right? So I was too far in the water to even swim back and make it, and I didn't know. I honestly thought it was a shark, but it came close to me, and it was so happy. But it was like, where have you been? Where have you been? Like, I've been waiting for you my whole life. Like, where? And it was just this like complete happiness, but at the same time, where have you been? It was this dolphin who is an older dolphin. And you could tell he had had quite a tough life, because he had scars on his body. He'd been through a lot. You could also tell that he wasn't a part of the pod, right? That he was a very loner, and he never, I found out after the fact that he never associates and goes close to any human ever. And he's way far out, and he never comes in ever. And he never swims with the pod. He just does his own thing, right? Came out for me. But he was taking me home. So he just was doing what he does, right? He's just like, it's about time. Like, let's go home. And so he's swimming around me. And I mean, he's like rubbing up against my body, all of it, right? Completely in circles, buoyant, like dragging me out further, spinning around. Also trying to make love to me. I know people are going to laugh at that, but it's true. It's true. Obviously, he's going to do that, right? That's like, he's happy. I think I was his wife, his dolphin human wife. I don't know. I don't know. But it got to the point where it was clear he wasn't going to let me go. So it became very clear that he wanted to take me home, and he wasn't going to let me go. And I was trying to telepathically tell him I was a human. I can't go down there anymore and stay down there, because I can't breathe like you anymore. I'm like a human. I'm like, look at my body. I'm not a dolphin anymore. Like, I'm doing all of this, and I'm communicating with him, and I'm like, please get it. Nope, he wasn't getting it. So at this point, they sent one of the boats, the survival boats, the rescue boats. They sent it out because they knew I needed rescuing. And he started fighting them. So as soon as anything came anywhere near me, oh boy, did he get mad. Boy. He did not let any of them near. And they were like, oh God, like, what are we? I was getting tired in the water. As I said, I'm not a great swimmer. I'm in the water all the time as much as I can, but I'm not a great swimmer. And he had to like kind of lift me up from underneath because he knew I was getting tired. And he thought, like, if I just do that, then she'll be fine, right? Well, they had to send another boat between two boats. It was like between two boats, they had to rescue me. So they had to like strategically try and get me out of his grip so that I could be rescued.
Wow.
And I finally did get rescued. I was out there for a while though, but I finally did get rescued, and he was so upset and he was so heartbroken. My God, he was like, he just would not let up. He would not let up at all. And then for days he was like swimming up and down, upset, looking and calling me. It was heartbreaking.
What did he call you?
Oh, I can't even mimic it. It was like, I can't do what you do. I mean, but he kept repeating it over and over and over again. And it was like,
Wow.
Like, I can't do what you do. So if I do it, it probably sounds really dumb, but it was like,
no.
like, if I even get it right, ee, like that.
Wow.
Yeah.
Wow.
Like it was, I mean, that's a horrible version of what it was, but that's kind of like,
wow.
And they would like coming day after day, calling, but I didn't know it was my name he was calling. I did not know. I knew he was calling me, but I didn't actually know that, like, until you talked about the names, how they give you names. Now I'm like, oh wow, that's what he was doing. So needless to say, like, you know, when I got to land, everybody was laughing because it was just like, because they knew the dolphin was trying to like do what he does. And I'm not embarrassed about that because I just feel that there's nothing to be embarrassed about, but they all were like absolutely just, you know, killing themselves laughing because they were like, we don't see that every day. And then they put it in the newspaper. So that was my Florida experience. But you know what? I absolutely, I have to say, and I have to explain, most people that would have an experience like that would be probably afraid, you know, because they would be afraid. I mean, I was afraid that I would drown again. But I knew, you know, but I knew I'd be rescued. It's just that I wasn't strong in the water. But honestly, that whole time that I was with him, it felt like the most natural thing, and everything in me wanted to go with him. I have to say it. Everything in me just wanted to go with him. Like I just cried and cried. And leaving, I was like, I'll probably never see you again. And he eventually like left to be out alone again in the middle of wherever, because he wasn't a part of the pod. But it always really, really stayed with me. Like it really, almost every day I think of that, and I think of him, and I'm always trying to send him love. I'm like, you got to feel my love, and all of your pod, you got to go to the pod. I'm like, you got to go to the pod. Yeah. I'm like, you can't be alone. Yeah. And I can't be your wife. I'm a human.
There's many times when I'm diving, I free dive, and I forget to come back up, really. I mean, it's so, you know, I free diving's dangerous and you want to do it with a buddy. And sometimes we say to each other, I wonder if one time we're just not going to come back up. I don't have the fancy equipment and all the stuff, but they do on the Kona side. So I went over there one Sunday, and they were all going, and they drop a line, and they have all this fancy equipment, and I'm going, can I go with you guys? They go, oh no, can I go with you guys? No. And finally I'm just sitting there, and everyone goes out, and this one lady goes, all right, come on, you can come with me. And this guy the whole time is going, you're endangering all of us. You shouldn't, you know, just giving me a hard time. And And so it came my turn to dive, and they go, well, don't go below that one yellow piece of thing they tie
Oh,
on the rope. And I didn't know how deep it was or anything. So then what you do is you just relax to the point where you're almost dead. You register. I
mhm.
think if you were to register a heartbeat, it would almost be the kind just before death. And you relax yourself to this point, and then you just slowly turn into the water and go down, which I did. And I went down to that tape, and I could have gone deeper, but I did what they asked. And so I stayed down there for a few minutes, and I was just cleaning the rope because it had all this growth, and I was hanging out. And then I thought, okay, well, I'll go back up. And I came back up, and that guy who was giving me a hard time, he was looking at me with a lot of amazement. I had dove like 68 feet, and I stayed under for a couple of minutes, and I had no idea that I could do that. I but I wanted to experience a dolphin. I wanted to be a part of the culture. So I just started on my own training, and I remember the toxins coming out of like my knees mostly, all of my joints, but especially my knees. I could just feel all of it coming out. I don't know how to describe it. It was almost like air bubbles coming out. And I know the knee is the first to break the plane when you walk, right? It's how you interact with the world. And this was where all of this stuff was stored in me. And I was releasing. And after, I must have been doing this for 3 years before I went to go check. And, Vipassana and all these things that people do, the greatest cleanse I've ever done is to learn to free dive, because I release so much, and you face your fear and you go beyond your fear every time you do it. And it's like, it brought me to a whole different level in my body.
That is incredible. That is incredible. That reminds me of a movie that was, I think, in the 1980s, and I don't know if you've seen it, but it was called I think it was The Blue.
Oh yes, I saw that one, and I
It
watched
used to
it.
be my favorite. That was one of my favorite movies.
I love that. Everyone else didn't like it, and I just adore that movie. It's supposed to be true-ish.
Well, yes. And I could relate because and I'm not like you. I can't free dive like I say. Like for someone who's extremely aquatic, I'm like a handicap version. Like a terrible swimmer. I get by, but
I feel like a grub.
you're like a mermaid. But no, in the movie, The Blue, oh my God, I just love that movie.
Oh yeah.
His home was out there that was his home.
Mm-hmm.
And nobody
I've
could
actually
understand it.
Yeah, I spent the night in the water once because I wanted to. It's called the warm ponds, not worm ponds. No, the warm ponds, and it has it feeds from the ocean, and it has palm trees all around it, and it's really warm because in Hawaii they have all the thermodynamic, all that hot water coming in, and it was created by this one little outlet. So the cold water rushes in, and I don't know, it's 300 feet long and 100 feet wide or something like that, and it's pretty natural. And I was waiting for a friend, and they didn't show up, and I thought, it's getting dark. I wonder what it would be like to spend the night in the water. And I said, this is the time, because I've always wanted to. So I would dive and breathe, and when I got tired, I'd hook the nape of my neck on a rock, and I'd just sort of float, and then I'd wake up cold and I'd swim some more. But I actually spent the night in the water.
Wow. Wow. So what
had to do it.
So what do you think for you as a human now, right here? Tell me what you feel. I mean, I know that your destiny is to bring this knowledge in and to share it with the world.
Mm.
that you're like a bridge between everything that they are and what they're doing here. Because I think what happens when beings that live on land for too long, and in cities and all the day-to-day rut, you forget that the universe is in the water, because everything is in water, and even every realm in existence is in a plasma sea already. But everybody forgets that there's this entire absolute realm in the sea, and that, you know,
yes, which is our original. Yeah.
Right. Exactly.
Right. Yeah, I think that they are a bridge.
Well, they are,
actually,
for sure.
When you think of, you know, where we are and where we want to be and how we're going to get there, and then here are these beings that will say, I'll show you, I'll tell you, I'll tell you, I'll talk to you, let me show you, let me show you through play, let me show you. And they, so I yeah, I think that I think they are the bridge. But my part in this, while in Hawaii, the lawful Hawaiian people, the people who actually are Hawaiian, before Dole came in and said, okay, this is American soil and we're just going to take this over and you no longer exist. Well, that's not what's going on. There is the lawful Hawaiian government exists, and the Hawaiian people and the Hawaiian culture are still there. And the really unique thing is that it's saying we have a poor connection. Is everything all right?
Now it is. Okay? Now it's good.
Okay. So, so the unique thing is that this island is growing, and when Pele, you know, erupts or oozes, she creates new land. So all the new land that's being created, the Hawaiians are claiming as sovereign Hawaiian land. And so I was working with the lawful Hawaiian government, and we were actually building a 7-mile square sustainable village for the lawful Hawaiian people. And while I was there doing this, they knew I was swimming with the dolphins, and the li'i, which is like the mayor, would come in and say, okay, tell me, what are the dolphins saying? Tell me, what are the whales saying? Because they knew my connection, and they understand the whale and dolphin as amakua, or as gods. And so I began to tell them, and they offered me the title of ambassador to the Cetacean Nation for the lawful Hawaiian government. And I was very humbled, and I thought, okay, you are claiming sovereignty to the rest of the world. I said, what a better way to establish your sovereignty than to offer it to someone else. And I wrote the Declaration of Cetacean Sovereignty. And with this are 4 laws that help to protect the cetacean. And so if I am a bridge, then this would be one of when I was writing this, I was swimming with, they visited for 4 days straight. They rarely stay 4 days straight. Usually they come in and they go. But they came in and they told me everything to write, and I wrote it. And they definitely wrote it, because I couldn't have written something so beautiful. And then I presented it to the legislation of the lawful Hawaiian government, so that they could proclaim their own sovereignty by offering it to someone else, because they're in that battle right now. It hasn't gone very far, and it would be really nice to get signatures on the declaration, so that what it does is the mammalian culture, because dolphins and whales are not fish, they're mammals. And they have a mother and a culture and a lineage, and I've seen them breastfeed and see them birth. So what would be nice is to establish what the Declaration of Cetacean sovereignty does is establish mammalian law in the water. And all of the things that protect us as mammals would then protect them. So if I am a bridge, it would be wonderful to get this declaration out and to have signatures and to present it to, the League of Nations or the United Nations, and have them say, yes, we receive the Cetacean Nation as a governess on this earth. Yeah, as a part of the governing body of this earth.
Exactly. And that they have a voice for their exact sentient, because it has to be this way. They are the representatives of the original frequency, of the original song.
They have the keys. We're searching for ways to structure our government. We're searching for ways to speak in such a way that it isn't violent. We're searching, and they're sitting there and they're holding these keys and they're offering them. And all we have to do is receive them.
I would love to put that link of the declaration on the video for sure. And if you like, I would like to put the declaration on my website for people with the link as well.
Yes.
And I really encourage everyone to please sign this declaration, because it is vital. What they're doing is for every living being on this entire realm. And it's towards the emancipation of us all. And that has to be made very clear so all truly, genuinely know this.
Absolutely. I would be honored for that link. Definitely. Normally, I bring leaves out to play with the dolphins, right? And I stick them, somewhere so that I can swim. And then when I get out there, I dive down, and you can just sort of hang them in the water and place them. And they come up, and they just love the leaves. And they love, again, everything is done through play. And it's my connection with them to start off. Well, this day I didn't bring leaves because there were so many whales around. I just said, take me to the whales. And they came up and they want to talk, and I said, take me to the whales, take me to the whales. I was just a little bit obstinate. So we're heading out, and I love this feeling when I'm swimming, and they've shown me a certain way to swim so that I can swim very efficiently. And I'd love to teach you.
I would love to learn.
So we're swimming out, and I feel their wake, and I can see their fins, and I look underneath me, and I see them all around me, and I notice, this is Hawaiian water, so the visibility is sometimes 100 feet plus, and I'm looking down, and I'm looking everywhere, and I just see dolphins, but we're like it's 75 feet below we're above the water, like 75 feet. I can look down and see the bottom. So I know we're heading out deep, and I just keep saying, take me to the whales, take me to the whales. Well, I look down, and the bottom of the ocean is black. It's black sand. But I noticed it looked like it was rising. It looked like, the floor of the ocean was rising towards me, and all the rocks and everything just rising. And then I look closer, and the humpback whales, the white is around their eyes and on the bottom and on the bottom of the paddle and the belly and everything. And I look, and I see 2-3 eyes, and it's 3 whales. And what I saw is prettier than anything I've ever seen in any magazine or National Geographic. So 2 full 60-foot long, 55, 60-foot long whales are holding each other face to face, and then a baby on the back of one. Oh. And, their eyes are on the side, so if they want to look at you, they have to turn to the side. So they're all rolled to the side, and I see them coming up to me, and I'm thinking, I know just what to do. I've waited for this moment my whole life. So I take a breath, and I dive down, and I just hang there at 20 feet. And I wait for them to approach if they want to approach. And they're coming closer and closer and closer. Mm. And these whales, I was able to look right into their eye and touch them and speak with them. And I'm just in awe at this. I mean, you can't even see the tail because it's so far beyond you. It's just like you're just the eye itself, and the gentleness of these huge creatures is just it's beyond words. It's beyond anything I've experienced. So I look over and I see the baby, and I said to the mom, "Is it okay?" And she goes, "Yeah." So I go over to the baby, and the baby goes, "Oh, so that's my phone. So this is what a human looks like." And I go, "So this is what a baby whale looks like." And we're playing, and I hear this clamor above me, and I come up for air, and all of my friends, or the ones that could swim out, are going, "We see you with the whale, we see you with the whale." And then I look down, and I just see the tail go, whoosh, and they're gone. They're just gone like that. And they kept asking me, like, what happened? And I wasn't able to speak. I wasn't able to say anything. And I felt like acknowledged. I felt deeply acknowledged. It felt like I met the royal family. First of all, I felt like I met royalty, and I felt acknowledged to the point where I hadn't felt with humans. And it was so affirming. I felt like for the first time I had standing, is the best way to put it. And so I go on the land, and they're saying, you know, what happened? And I wasn't able to speak for, I guess, a few hours. I just didn't want to try. I wanted to keep the reality of what whales everywhere. And they were, I'd go down and I'd look, and I'd look close, and there was a whale, and it would go just out of sight again. Or I'd be swimming, and two would be underneath me, and they'd be traversing and trying. After that, it just, I think because the dolphin introduced me to the whale, that liaison made it so that I had trust with them right off. And because of that, the channels of communication, like you said, opened up, and deep communication is still going on.
Oh dear, that is just, if only everyone could experience that. If only everyone could just experience that once, everything would change.
Everything does change.
And I just want to say that the US took Hawaii illegally and through an agreement of entrapment. And I think it's completely unlawful, and that they should return Hawaii to their sovereign state of being, because it's theft.
Absolutely.
So I just want to say that. Yeah. There's something exceptionally powerful about that area.
It's a beautiful culture.
Yeah.
Mm-hmm. And I think that's why the whales are there too, and that's probably why it's powerful. Yeah, it's true. It's supposed to be Kauai in the Hawaiian Galapagos. There's Kauai, one of the smaller, but it's the oldest. And they say it's the oldest piece of earth that exists. It's actually from the continent of Mu. And this is in the oral traditions of the Hawaiians. So there is a remembrance in the land, in the actual physicality there. And when you go there, you embrace that remembrance.
Incredible. I'm so happy, Jillian, that you are here in this realm, and that you are the bridge for our ancestors that are still very much here, and creating an energetic so that we're still able to be doing what we're here to do, to liberate ourselves, because without them, without their frequency, without their song, I'm not so sure we would be here. So I think it's incredible. I'm so honored to have had you here, spending this beautiful time and all of the amazing stories. And that in itself is a way for people to experience the experience, because they can take that frequency in, and it can transform whatever it needs to, because we can do that. We can absolutely gift one another frequencies of memories and experiences towards, what we are here to do. And I'm just very touched. Oh,
Lauda, I appreciate you deeply. You have been a bridge. You're a bridge on land. You I'm just thrilled to be talking with you. I've had a deep love and respect for you since I met you. I met you through Og, and I met him when he first came on, and it was just like, oh, thank goodness. It just you feed my heart, and I have a deep love and appreciation for you.
Thank you, Jillian. And I have a deep love for Og too. I just want to say. And I'm glad that he was the bridge for us. Like that. See how it works? It's amazing.
It's true.
Is there anywhere for anybody, for people to be able to see your art? Is there a link or anything for that? Or is there going to be maybe something in the future so that people can receive the gift of vibration of your work and the experiences? Like, I can't wait to see that.
Oh, okay. So you've encouraged me. I actually made a website and I've never launched it just because it just seems so exposing. But it's interspecies communication website, and on it I wanted to put the declaration, and I have there's actually 7 projects that I'd like to accomplish, and one of them is the declaration that is written. So one of the 7 is done. Another one is to take the cetacean migration project, and to take an electric sailboat and actually accompany whales on their journey back from Hawaii to Alaska, because that journey is a very treacherous one. And all of these projects would be it's actually to teach humans to play nicely, if you ask me. Mm-hmm. The mission, I think my life mission is to intend that animals could run and swim and fly to me, not from me, and to create a world like that. So, so this website, like I say, I've made it, but I haven't launched it. So you really encouraged me to launch it, and on that website, I could put my images on there. But yeah, I just need to take that step, don't I?
That would be amazing, and I can't wait. And I know many others can't wait. Okay. And I just want to say one more thing. I'm not in agreement with military or any kind of force in this realm utilizing any of the Cretaceous mammals, our ancestors, our kindred, our brothers and sisters, for their experimentation, for weapon use, for anything. Totally not in agreement, and that needs to stop. All of this needs to stop. This exploitation is horrifying, and I just have to put that out there for them to get that.
One of the
we don't agree to that.
One of the points in the declaration is the preservation of the whale song. And the whale song is a preservation of their society. And it would, if enough people sign this and it's presented to whatever, ruling powers that be, then that would absolutely become illegal. And the cool thing about this declaration is it isn't like you are protesting in front of, like, SeaWorld or something, this comes in through the back door and just blows all the doors open. If you give cetaceans the protection of mammalian law that's already existing, then it would make all of those places basically sanctuaries to reintegrate the cetacean there that are captive back into the wild.
And also, hopefully, this can get through to the Asian countries and China and all of these places that are sealed off, because this is a worldwide thing. Every place on this realm, this is the right. I mean, this is,
yeah.
I don't have words for this, because I think about it, I start getting, I start hyperventilating. So they need to have this information, and I hope that there can be other bridges who are able to take that, and somehow it starts spreading over in their countries too, and everywhere.
Which would be wonderful. May it be so.
May it be so, and it is so. It is so. That's like yes.
Yeah. No, true. The intent, that plastic ocean that is existing over there in Hawaii, 2 feet deep in the size of Texas, is filament. It's fishing line. And what happens is they trail the fishing line, and then they do it for miles, and then they just cut it off. And then it's part of, I know. So one of the acts in this declaration makes it so that if they want to, because I talked with a lot of fishermen, and this is their livelihood, but after 300 feet, then one would use a very thin rope. And rope is biodegradable, and it will fall apart, and it doesn't get in the DNA and become part of, what we are. So so signing the declaration would also help with that immense problem of plastic and filament in the water.
You are a wonderful ambassador. Thank you.
Oh, that means so much coming from you. Thank you, Lauda.
Thank you,
I still
everyone.
didn't tell you about the whale birthing.
Oh, the whale birthing? Okay, well, let's do it. We'd love to hear the story.
Okay. Well, in the place where I swim, and the first time I went there, I thought, I'm never going to swim there. That's too dangerous. But I end up swimming there every day. It's the Black Sands Beach. It's on the Big Island, and it's a little cove on the east side. Now, the east side, it's battered. The waves are huge. It's the other sides, like the Kona side, that's really like protected and white sands. But this is raw and real and absolutely beautiful. And so, rounding the cove, a whale came around the cove, and there was blood, and there was flashing and splashing, and it was just a commotion, and I didn't know what was going on. And it was one day, and it doesn't happen very often, where I said, I'm not getting in the water. It looks very sharky. And so I decided not to get in the water, and here comes the whale around the corner, and I saw the blood, and I go, do you need me in the water? And she goes, yes. And I go, oh, oh dear. I said, did you really just say that? If you said that, would you do this? And she did that. And I said, okay. So I just start putting on my stuff, and I'm not going to think about it, because I know the sharks are there. And just to say, sharks are really beautiful. They really are. And they don't want to eat humans.
No, they don't.
The first time I met a shark, I didn't know what I would do. When I met one, we looked at each other, and we both go, wow, you're really beautiful. And then we just swam and went our own direction. So back to the whale. She comes around the corner. I see blood. I see, stuff I've never seen before. And I didn't know what was going on, but I felt the urgency. Well, it was a birthing, and I didn't know. I'd never seen a birthing before. And the baby comes out tail first, and the tail is pointed and split. I think it splits after it comes out. I don't know. It just seemed very impossible. and the baby's just sort of, and there's blood, and this is the time when they're the most vulnerable. And of course, when there's blood in the water, it looks all the sharks. And the most awesome delicacy in the water is a baby whale for a lot of different creatures, the orca especially, and sharks. So they look for this, and this is like, you know, their fave. And so I didn't know it, but 2 miles up the road, she had started, and there was a group of people that were following her on the road watching. And my beach is down from a cliff down, probably, you know, 150 feet down from the cliff to the water. So they're able to see everything. But this day you couldn't see anything. It was just murky. I could barely see the hand in front of my face. So I'm getting my stuff on. I know to get in the water, and I think, what am I doing? I must be crazy. But I get in the water, and I start swimming out to where she is. And the dolphin have taught me a certain stroke where I actually put my hands in front of my head and sort of over my ears, and I move it back and forth like they do their nose, and I go like 20% faster when I do this. And then I have a monofin, and so I do a few of these strokes, and I go underwater, and then I can come up and do a few more strokes, and I can move really fast like this. So I'm doing this, and I come up, and every time I come up, the whale comes up beside me. And there's all this flashing and thrashing and splashing and everything. And again, I don't know, but everyone up top knows what's going on. I have no idea. And and then I go back down, and one of my friends, and I wasn't able to put the story together till after I came out of the water, and it was a few days later when one of my friends said, she goes, they were standing up and they were watching everything, and that my friend had someone standing next to him, and she goes, "Look, that lady's going to get hit by that whale." And that my friend goes, "Oh, no, don't worry about her. She's fine." But he said that the whale was practically, the paddle was practically touching me, and we were swimming in unison. And they could see this. I could only feel these immense feelings. I mean, birthing and a whale birth. I mean, think of the immensity of that just physically, but the immense, I mean, just that energy. And all I could do was feel this energy I've never felt before. And again, the story came together after I got on land, but we went up and down like 5 different times. And then finally the baby came out, and I'm thinking, okay, am I done here? And I'm seeing something in front of me, and I didn't know what it was. And I had to go back and look it up, and it was the dorsal fin of a humpback whale. It was the dorsal fin, so I was right over where the baby was. And again, this is all putting it together in hindsight. And the reason why the whale asked me to come out there was there was so many birthings that year, and I had met the whales before and swam with these dolphins, and the dolphins doula the whales. They help in the birthing, and what they do is they swim around the whales, and they protect the whales from all the sharks that want to eat the babies, because when the babies come out, they can't even swim. They lift them up with their nose for about 3 days, and they have to teach them to swim, and you can imagine how vulnerable. So because I was introduced to the whales, to the dolphins, she considered me a cetacean, and I was there, and I was protecting her during the birth. And so the birth happened, and I felt like, okay, I can get out of here. And I just slowly like back paddled, and I just went to the shore, and someone came and hit me on the back. They go, "That was great." And I'm going, what just happened? I didn't even know what happened. And then all the stories came in, and I was able to put it together from all the stories. And it took like 3 days to put it together, but that was a time where it was definitely hard to talk after that as well.
Oh my God.
So in the wild, in the water, a birth. Then there I was with this happening, and I was just like, I was just humbled to be asked to participate in something so amazing.
You know, the picture that I get when you talk and you describe that is that I get like a reverberating frequency that just goes right through dimensionally and just affects everything.
Mm. May it be so.
So this frequency makes it hard for me to speak.
It does. Flapping the jaws is not very effective.
I'm like, yeah.
I can feel you emote, though. Yeah.
Yeah. I'm deeply honored, Jillian. I'm deeply, deeply honored, and I really thank you. And I encourage everyone to please sign the declaration and to please spread it around everywhere. Please, everywhere. And may everybody become a bridge. Right?
Absolutely. Right. To our own liberation.
Big love, Jillian.
Thank you so much, Lauda.
I feel like through you're sending me messages of all my like brothers and sisters there, and my dolphin husband out there somewhere.
No. It must be so frustrating for him.
Poor, I know.
Come to Hawaii, and I teach fearless swimming, and you don't have a fear of the water. So
No.
I mean, that right there. But I can show you some things the dolphins have showed me, and in moments you will be swimming like they do.
I would love it.
Long.
I would love it. I would absolutely love that, because I want to learn properly, because I feel like I am and belong in the water anyway. So I don't understand this, like,
you do.
The reason why I don't swim as well as I feel I should. So I need help. I thank you for that, and I really look forward to that. And you might have a hard time getting me out of the water, and that's another story. But I dedicate this video to everyone, and may it go far through all the dimensions and all the densities and all the realms and all the bodies of all that is. And I dedicate this to my adopted son, Rufio, who, yes, I'm sure can't wait to hear about your accounts. And I dedicate this to everyone, and in the memory of like us starting to all communicate with them, because they're waiting to help us, just like the dolphin who kept nipping at your friend's side because she had a tumor. You know, this is like, they are just waiting to help us, and they are helping us without even knowing it. But the more we acknowledge them, and the more that we put our manifested consciousness in knowing what they're doing and connection to them, the more we can bring in what they're giving us as gifts in healing.
Absolutely.
Thank you, Jillian. Absolutely. I love you.
I love you too, Lauda. Thank you.